Welcome back to the Checkered Flags and Money Bags podcast. I am your host, Phil Craig, and this week we are going to preview our race at Atlanta, the Ambetter Health 400. Before we get to that, let's go back and see how we did at the Daytona 500. If you saw last week's episode or you follow along on Twitter, where I post my picks there, you know that it did not do so well, which is typical of a Daytona 500 or any type of pack race, drafting style. So we had Hamlin, Cindric, Smith to win. All three of those guys obviously did not go to victory lane, as we saw William Byron win that race. Poor Harrison Burton, I had him for a top 10. Guy gets taken out in the first 5 laps of the race. Not of his own doing, just a tough luck situation. We also had Penske to win. Obviously, Hendrick takes that. Winning car number, under 13.5, no good once again. And Carr's finishing on the lead lap at under 16.5. A complete whitewash, no wins whatsoever there. We did have Cindric up there at the end, right there at the time of that last crash, which essentially ended the race. Cindric was leading there in that bottom line, and that's about all you can hope for, is to have someone that's in position at the end of the race to cash you a ticket. Had him at plus 3,500. If he goes to victory lane, as well as that means a Penske win, the car number under 13.5 hits. A bunch of those hit if he takes it to victory lane, but he didn't, so we take our losses and we move on. The one saving grace that I did have was in the Xfinity race. I did have Austin Hill to win, so did salvage a little bit. Still a 54% loss on the day, so not so good in that department. All right, moving on. Putting that one behind us and moving on to Atlanta. We have a 1.5 mile track, which was reconfigured and repaved a couple of years ago, and the type of the style of racing that we see there now is not typical of your 1.5 mile track, but it's more along the lines of our super speedway pack style racing. As that pavement starts to wear, they will start to get away from that style. We'll start to see them slip and slide around the track, which will not allow them to stay in a pack anymore. But and we did see that a little bit in the truck and Xfinity races today. They did get spread out a little bit, but we'll see if that carries over, and we see that same thing happening in the Cup race tomorrow. So a few interesting things that I've dug up on this race. At this type of racing, we tend to think that it doesn't matter where you start. You can come from anywhere and get a solid finish or even win the race, which is true. You can absolutely do that. However, in 2 of these 4 next-gen races at this track in this new configuration, we have seen the pole winner, the pole sitter, go on to win the race. Our pole sitter in this race, Michael McDowell, is sitting on the pole for this race, and probably, if I had to bet one way or the other just on this, I'm betting the bank that that's not going to happen again. In the 4 next-gen races that he has run here, he's finished 4th, 21st, 15th, and 24th, and has not led a single lap. So I would be more likely to, and actually you will see in my picks here in just a little bit, the outside pole sitter, Joey Logano. I think he is more likely to go to victory lane than I do McDowell. All right. Once again, we saw Fords dominate in the qualifying, taking 7 of the top 10 positions. The other 3 by Chevys. No Toyotas in the top 10 whatsoever. Does that translate over into the race tomorrow? I don't think so. I think we get to see at least probably 2 or 3 Toyotas finishing in the top 10. In the last, once again, those last 4 next-gen races there, we've seen 2, 0, 4, and 0 as far as top 10 finishes there for Toyotas. So they don't fare so well in the late summer race, which is going to be actually fall race there this year, but they do have some success in the spring race. Two of the last 4 races have been won by William Byron, who went to Victory Lane obviously last week in the Daytona 500. So that's just a few of the nuggets that I've dug up that I thought were very interesting and useful in making my picks for this week. So let's get right to it. I did bet on the qualifying this week because the Fords have dominated so much the last couple trips there. I picked out a few of the Fords that I thought really had a shot to win it, particularly Logano. Fortunately, those did not come through. So let's get right to it. The favorites to win this week at Atlanta. I think most people's favorite on the board is going to be Joey Logano. Sitting on the front row, has won there recently, and just last year he is the defending race winner and did that from the pole. So he's sitting on the front row once again. He's led a lot of laps at this track, and so he is definitely one to look at. He is one that I am going to pick for the win. I've picked 3 guys once again, as I did last week. Now, one thing I didn't do last week was I gave my winners. I did not. I gave my picks as far as who I thought would win, and I'm not going to give out how much I'm betting on each pick, but I will give a confidence number to each one. So, in keeping with the name of the podcast, Checkered Flags and Money Bags, I figured it would be fun we'll go with a bag for like the least confident. We'll put a bag on that. We'll put 1 money bag, 2 money bags, 3 money bags, 4 money bags for our for a really confident one, and then for like my pick of the week, gotta have it, hammer it, go for it. Definitely gonna be there. Bet the bank. That's going to be my bet the bank pick of the week. So, my pick to win the race, I do have Logano down as one of my picks. My absolute pick, I think, is going to Victory Lane this week. Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has led a lot of laps here at this track. He was fast last week at Daytona. He didn't need any help from any of his manufacturer teammates or his own teammate of Austin Hill. He could just go with the other Fords and Toyotas and work with them and just go straight to the front. He had that the lug nut that they missed on the pit stop, had to go all the way to the back, took his car right back to the front, worked right through the field, and I think he's going to be real strong this week at Atlanta. And he is my pick to go for to Victory Lane. We're going to go with 2 bags. That is a 2-bag bet for me this week, as well as Logano. Busch, by the way, 1,400 to win. I mentioned last week, shop around, look at your different books. Maybe you can find him a little bit higher than that, but that was the highest that I found him at, was at plus 1,400. Logano, 2 bags on Logano as well. That's a 2-bag bet. Plus 1,000 is the best I found him. Now, Most of the books have him at plus 850, plus 900. So look around. I do not remember which one he was at. Actually, I think that was FanDuel, I believe. So look around and make sure you find where you've got the best odds before you place your bet. And then a little bit further back, more of a long shot to win, Tyler Reddick at plus 2200. He had some very good speed, led last week, did well. So we know he can lead the pack in that car. 2311 is I mean, they've just kept progressing each year. I think this year they really get to a point where they are a factor every single week. Both cars. Well, maybe not both cars this week, as you'll see in just a minute. But Tyler Reddick, yeah, he is one that I think can absolutely go to victory lane. If you want a long shot, let's see, you can find Corey LaJoie, who has run well here recently. You can find him at plus 4,000. These odds really did not move much with qualifying, because qualifying, like I said, it really doesn't matter a whole lot. You can come from 35th and win this race. I mean, your Fords and your Hendrick cars are all up front. They do have, not sure why, they've got some Toyotas up there near the top. I don't have really much confidence in that happening. Denny Hamlin Denny's always going to be up there. I think Denny, the books are going to have Denny with really crappy odds all year. I think a lot of that's going to have to do with the Netflix series that NASCAR came out with. Denny was the face of that entire thing, and so that's going to raise his popularity a lot amongst people who weren't really NASCAR fans before. Maybe they just tuned in and said, hey, the F1 did this and it was pretty cool, let me check out this NASCAR thing too. And NASCAR is probably going to gain a lot of fans from that, which is great. Anything to build the sport. So I think that's really going to kill Denny's odds all year long, because he really hasn't had the success here at this track to justify being one of the top lines on this. All of your Hendrick cars, except Bowman, Larson, Byron, and Chase, they've all led a lot of laps here at this track. They've all run up front. But Byron is the one who has had the success at getting to victory lane lately. Let's see what we got. Keselowski, plus 1,200. That might not be a bad pick. Buescher is right behind him a little bit further down at plus 1,800. Those guys can both certainly get to victory lane. This track, I think we're going to find out a little bit about who's got the better handling car. You're gonna need to have more handling in your car this week. I think that's the Penske's. I think that's the Penske cars. Blaney and Logano, I expect to see both of them, both for sure top 10, maybe top 5, although those top 10 numbers are not so good. Yeah, I don't really see any of the other long shots that might that I really think would have a chance. I take that back. Ty Gibbs. This is a guy. Yeah, he's a Toyota, but I think this is a guy who is going to break through with at least one. I think he's going to get 2 wins this year. He's down there at plus 4,000. So, if you're looking for your long shot, those are a couple of guys that can definitely get up there and have a shot at this, I believe. Okay, let's move on down now. Reddick, I had that as just a single bag. I don't know if I mentioned that. Let's move on. Once again, with this pack style racing, I'm not interested in top 3s, top 5s. Go ahead, check them out yourself if you like those kind of bets. Maybe you think a guy is going to run up front, not necessarily sure if he's going to be able to get the win or not. then go ahead and do that. So let's move on to some top 10s. I do have a few guys that I like for top 10 finishes here, and these are some ones that I really like for top 10s. I think the books might have missed the boat on this. Usually your top 10s, as far as in the books, they're all going to be minus money. You know, anywhere from minus 110 down to minus 200 or more for a top 10, minus 300 sometimes. Really no value in that. I'm not betting a top 10 at minus money. If I'm betting a top 10, if it's at minus 110 and I think it's an absolute lock, I might jump on that. But I like to get some plus money when I'm looking at top 10s. As I mentioned just a minute ago, Ty Gibbs, I think he gets a top 10 here this week. Really fast. I think he's going to run up front a lot more this year and be able to stay out of trouble more and get those high finishes. I found him at plus 200 for a top 10 finish, as well as also mentioned Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie just keeps running well at these plate style races. Yeah, I know we don't run plates anymore. The pack style racing. Corey LaJoie also at plus 200. I'm putting 3 bags on both of those. I'm pretty confident that those guys can both get up there in the top 10 and bring it home. And then my last one for a top 10, and here is my bet the bank bet of the week. Ross Chastain for a top 10, and he is at plus 100. I could not believe that he was even money for a top 10. The guy has had he's come in two second place finishes, I believe. Didn't write that one down. Yeah, that one's money in the bank. Go for it. I'm going to. All right. As far as cars to win, there's too many of these Hendrick cars to choose from. Like I said, you've got Byron Elliott and Kyle Larson have all led a lot of laps here and stayed up front. So I'm just going to go ahead and cover all of those guys with a 2-bag bet on Hendrick to win at plus 300. I think that's some good value to cover all 3 of those guys. No, you're not getting the plus 12, plus 1,000 that you would for them to win. But plus 300 to get all 3 of those guys, I like that one a lot. Actually, I might even bump that up to a 3-bag bet as well. Okay, one thing we didn't do last week, I did not include any head-to-head bets. Basically, at Daytona, head-to-head bets, you can pick any of them you want, just randomly, because you never know who's getting taken out in that big wreck, and so anybody can beat anybody, especially if you get this pack style racing, Daytona, Talladega, and here at Atlanta. If you can get a driver at plus money and it's a reasonable head-to-head bet, take it. Absolutely take it. Don't have to go big on those. Those can be smaller bets if you want to, but those are definitely some good value bets there. Okay, so here's some of my. Oh, the other thing is, there's not. You can't parlay anything in any. At least I haven't found any books that allow you to parlay something like top 10 bets. You want to put 2 or 3 of them together, 4 of them, and try to get that big payout. None of the books that I've found allow you to do that. But where they do allow you to build parlays is the head-to-head bets. Maybe not all of them, but I do know that Bet365 will let you parlay your head-to-head bets. So here's a few of them that I found this week that I like, and let me just bring up these other ones here real quick. So my first one, Keselowski over Larson. Yeah, Larson does lead a lot of laps here, but he doesn't get the finishes. Keselowski at, I think they were both at minus 115. Let's bring that up here. Yeah, both at 115. I like Keselowski in that one. And these are, most of these head-to-head bets are just going to be one-bag bets. You know, I'm not putting a whole lot into these most of the time. So we got next one on the list that I like is Jones over Buescher. The reason I like this, Jones has had a couple of good, solid finishes here lately at Atlanta. And Buescher, while he does run up near the front and has had a top 10 finish, he's usually either top 10 or he wrecks. He's wrecked in a couple of these here at Atlanta lately, and so at plus 145 for Jones over Buescher, I like that one for a one bag as well. William Byron over Denny Hamlin at plus 104. You're giving me William Byron at Atlanta with plus money? Yes, I will take that all day, any day, over just about any driver. So we're going to take that as a two bag in that one there. And then my last one that I like here for the head-to-heads, Ross Chastain over Bubba Wallace. If you can find any, and that is a minus 115 as well. Any head-to-head bets against Bubba Wallace, fade them. Fade Bubba in those. I like Bubba. A lot of people do not like Bubba. A lot of people boo him. They call him all kinds of names, whatever. They say he sucks. No, he doesn't suck. He's there because he's a good driver. Hasn't had the greatest results in his career thus far, but had a great season. Got into the playoffs last year. Got into the round of 8, I believe, or round of 12. I think he got knocked out in the round of 12. He didn't make the top 8. But anyway, Bubba at Atlanta, 0 top 10s in the next gen car in the 4 races there. So I will take any head-to-head matchup that I find against Bubba. I did see one other one, but it was I think it was I think that one was Chase Elliott and Bubba, and it was like minus 160 for Chase in that matchup, and I'm not giving up that much just to fade Bubba. So those are the picks that I have for this week. I do have a special guest picker this week who is going to come on here in just a second and tell us who she likes for this week's race. So, you ready? Come on in. Come on over here. All right. Oh, my favorite little redhead here. Okay. You weren't with us last week when we recorded, so we didn't get to have you on. But why don't you go ahead and tell everybody who you picked for last week's winner at the Daytona 500?
William Byron.
William Byron. Okay, I need to start listening to you for my picks, I think. So she had the winner in the first race of this season. So this week we are at Atlanta. It's a little bit smaller track. And so who do you think is going to go to victory lane this week?
William Byron.
William Byron again. Really? Okay, you know, it's been quite a long time. I think I heard Matt Kenseth, I think, was the last one to take the first 2 races of the season. So that's not something that happens very often. But you think that's going to happen this week, huh? Okay. William Byron once again, folks. There you go. That's what the great Olivia has told us. So we'll see how it goes. Good luck to everybody on your bets this week. And go get that bag.
Bye.